kitty. Here you go. Here's your toy. Love you. Alright guys, that's my car temperature at 98 degrees Fahrenheit. The real temperature is 94. It is a Thursday, July 7th, 4:11 p.m. I left the little bubble thing on this. I guess, I don't know, I started to take it off and then I put it back on. I'll probably take it off eventually. That's why it looks all kind of crazy. It's Thursday, July 7th, 2025, and welcome to the Please Subscribe show. Linda's taking the day off, and I'm Cole Spivey. We're headed out to drop food at your doorstep. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the Cole Spivey channel. I call it the Please Subscribe show for right now. We're very, very close to about 1,000 subscribers. It's been a long time coming. And I did get the email from YouTube, but you know, subscribers come and go. So the goal is, like every channel, get that billion subscribers, you know. And I'm quoting this on July 17th, 2025. So if it ever happens, and I do get 1 billion subscribers, it could, because anything in life is possible, right? I'll remember this day, July 17th, 2025, if I go back to some of my older vlogs, and I'll remember thinking about that great milestone that I pondered on. All right, we're headed out. Love you, and stay in touch, because you can learn things on this channel, everything from real estate, because I go across a lot of houses. I don't know if it'll help you with the apartments and stuff, but traffic, picking up food, all kinds of fun stuff, and talking about acting and theater. Here comes a cop with his siren passing by right here, River Oaks. Here they go, there's a real important thing going on. And I don't know, you know, whatever comes my way. Not at the state now where we're like outside some famous person's house and talking about it. Considered California, I've considered Hollywood. Definitely want to visit. I've lived there before. I lived in Long Beach, California. I've lived in New York. I lived in Maine, in the state of Maine. And eventually we'll get there. We'll start to travel. If you'd like to support the show, I leave my PayPal in the descriptions below, and you're able to do that. Also, on every single show, every single one that from this point on, and from the last year or so, I always leave a QR, and you can just put the phone up to the screen, and it should be able to read it, and you can also find my PayPal that way. But you can always find it in my subscription. I believe it's paypal.me/ and then my name, Cole Spivey, COLESPI, V as in Victor, EY. And if you'd like to contribute another way, go ahead. All right. Stay in touch. So one of the busiest gas stations around, super busy, is this Walmart right off Jacksboro Highway. They got the gas as low as $2.63, which is the cheapest in the area. And it's always just booming with people. It's full of people. All right, looky there. Perfect timing. Busy, busy, busy.
Nesquik on top, they weren't all that bad, and various ashtrays. After taking as much time as he could in the bathroom, he finally got around to locating the form and calling the local TV station to recite to them this year's press release. But you'd better check it.
Oh, and just a reminder, I did release an updated version of Chapter 79 to my fantasy novel. It's really just a fictional novel, Rib, parentheses, or Dog Night Out, close parentheses, dash, Shepherds of Alaska. That we're now in part 2 of the novel at Chapter 79. This is where the dwarf, the little man, also known as Guy Littleman, he has several names. A lot of the characters do. Usually, most of the he's kind of a protagonist. He's released from Panther City mental ward, basically. It's also a Panther City hospital. But as he's released, he's treated in the ER for heel pain, which he probably developed right after he was admitted or temporarily committed by the law for the scuffle that he got into with the police and his spouse and his dog Puck, that the dog ended up passing away and dying due to a taser. I'm reading Pynchon, or I'm listening to Pynchon. I try to read as much as I can. And I watched it was basically like a class at Yale on YouTube. 16 years ago, there's a professor, Hungerford is her last name. And she's brilliant. She's covered everyone from Cormac McCarthy, Thomas Pynchon, someone named that I'm not familiar with that she was talking in this one. She had compared him to Barth or something like that, another writer, talking about Thomas Pynchon and how Vineland, which is what I'm listening to, was it's a fictional account of California, and the vines are what are integrating all the different communities, the shady communities or the rebellious communities of California. And she does go back to compare them to not Neil Cassidy. He was the one that drove the bus, the further bus. Ken Kesey. But I think she was saying that Pynchon described everything as social interactions. These people, that's how the descriptions, sometimes you can find out what the writer's writing about through the descriptions, and then sometimes you can through the dialogue. But the social interactions of the people are what connect all the Vineland, all the different shady, rebellious people. And one of them in this story is the protagonist, which is Zoid. And he has a daughter named Prairie. Anyway, Zoid is, I guess, living on a Section 8 check, you know. He's trying to prove himself as crazy by going into the store and buying a female dress. He does this thing called window jumping, where he jumps through a window. Every once in a while, he has like a planned thing where his friends know about it, calls it window jumping. He also gets a chainsaw and goes into a thing called the log jam, which is basically an area of Vineland where there's trees to cut up and forest these trees for society. And he just goes on this crazy adventure. I'm only able to listen to the preview, which is in many of my cases, I guess as a novelist, I guess that's what I am. And my dream of to be an actor. That's why I'm a big fan of Paul Auster, which I don't think she's touched Paul Auster's work. He would definitely be in the English classes. She knows of Paul Auster, though. He was a filmmaker, also wrote City of Glass, neo-noir thrillers and stuff. But Pynchon, who did write a noir called Inherent Vice, which is done with Joaquin Phoenix, and P.T. Anderson did it as a movie. They're about to release a movie that's, I guess, loosely based on Vineland, called One Battle at a Time with Leonardo DiCaprio, which brought me into Pynchon. You know, Hollywood movies can do that. And so I started reading and listening to him, and he has a very different style. I think some of his dialogue is cartoonish, you know, compared to others. It is real, but it's not like verbatim verisimilitude real, you know. It's planned dialogue with huffing, if you know what huffing means. It means that it's to sound like dialogue, almost like from a movie. Pynchon also, which I think Hungerford didn't talk about, he also mentions in this book Return of the Jedi, and he puts in parentheses 1983. I do that on all my descriptions of movies. It's a way to verify the movie. You know, it came out that year. So it takes place in the, I believe, early 80s, like 82 or something like that. So it has a defined time. So it's like a print of the time of California. He is definitely writing about California. And listen, I'm no expert on Pynchon, Thomas Pynchon at all. But I'm taking from this, you know, because it came across to me. And I think I did the same thing with Cormac McCarthy. I read his book, I believe it was called No Country for Old Men, where you get into the prose and the style and the taste of the writer. I think all artists do that. All actors, they'll watch other actors, you know, and they'll see what they're doing. And the writers have a way of approaching. But I think what Pynchon was, he had a naval background, so he was in the U.S. Navy. He was protected, so no one writes as free as he did if he wasn't protected. And I don't know if you can understand that. But I don't think Hungerford, I guess you could call her, she's a professor. I don't think that she's coming across from it in a real way, even though she uses the word real in her description, meaning in the teaching. I think she's coming across of it in an academic way for Yale University, and I think that she does like a lot of the professors do. And I'd always kind of daydream about these professors because I'd go to English class and they're always the same. Their generalities, their philosophies, their cross-mixing the writing with other writers, and to me it kind of loses its point, you know, because Thomas Pynchon was a real person that probably went through some problems, and you know, to study him is to understand the work, not really other writers. But yet that's what they always do. They compare with other writers and they say this because they have to have a syllabus. They have to have a way of attacking the work in like an academic way, or they won't be able to present 50 writers over the period of the year, or so many books over the period of a year. You know, they'd only focus on one writer, which they can do that. But I'm not focusing on Thomas Pynchon here, and I'm not trying to compare Rib, which parentheses are doggone out, close parentheses, dash, Shepherds of Alaska, to Pynchon, but there is some type of familiarity in the rebellious aspect of things, because I'm obviously not the regular person, and I don't think Pynchon was too. All right, gotta go. Looks like it's 4:50. It didn't beep because I didn't have the thing on, but I got it anyway. Take this off here. I think it's going to be a Chick-fil-A. And it's 4:50. And then it's right here. We're going to do direction. And by far, I don't think any other writers would have been able to do, you know, because of technology, what I'm doing. But I don't get paid to write at this moment. It certainly would be a dream. I met James Patterson a long time ago. He was probably the most, he is. James Patterson is at the top of the list when it comes to the highest paid actor. Writer. Writer. He's not really an actor, James Patterson, but he's worked with a lot of actors. And he started off doing serial writing, if you know what that is. And he also started off in a mental facility as a nurse tech. And then he thought, you know what, I gotta start writing this down. And that turned into Along Came a Spider and all this stuff, and made him probably the richest writer ever. He's richer than Stephen King. He has more net than Stephen King does. I don't know, Stephen King might be catching up though. But if I did, then it would certainly just be me and the computer. At times I was thinking about doing a reading. Let me see if I can perfect chapter 79. Let me see if I can get it going and get a few passages in there that I think that are worth really reading. And I guess the World War II thing that I put in there about the emergency room probably goes back to my grandfather and also my sister being a nurse and the emergency room being like a war room. But I wanted to bring all that noise into the emergency room for the dwarf. I brought a little bit, and that may have been enough to get them started, so I'm not going 10 pages on just descriptions. And I didn't do a whole lot of descriptions. I try to stick to the dialogue between him and the Dr. Woodson, I believe, the brown-eyed doctor that comes in. But what you're listening to is probably like a novelist dealing with his life, and then I don't know if it's going to help the English department in any way, but maybe in the future, if they look back on this, it'd be certainly cool. It'd have been cool to look back on maybe the tape recordings of like Samuel Beckett, which he may have had, or maybe the tape recordings of any of the great writers, even like Pynchon, if he had some of that, they'd be really cool. They do have a little bit of stuff, from like Kerouac photos, Jack Kerouac, and the great writers. But I certainly wish I did get paid. Although I know that it's about $3,000 to publish a book, to bind it, publish it, and put the ISBN number and the barcode, at least to have the book. That's expensive, for someone that's struggling. So right now I go by an alias too. It's under Ash Cole for my online on fictionpress.com. And I have got some feedbacks on my email, quite a bit, and people are like, "Oh, I love your writing," and I like the feedback that's just like, "I like your writing, it's good, blah blah." Give me a reason, get specific, but don't try to sell me your drawings. There's a lot of artists that are like, "Hey, listen, I want to do a graphic novel to your writing." No, don't do that, because the reason why is because, for one thing, I can't communicate back with you, and I haven't written anything designed for a graphic novel. Although I know there's a lot of artists, and I've come across them like physically. I've met some of them at like unemployment agencies and stuff. They want to like sit down with me and say, "Hey, listen, you're the next Harvey Pekar. Let's do a cartoon." And I'd stay away from that, because I think some of it is like sales. You're trying to sell me something, and I can't help you. I can't. Maybe down the line, somewhere down the line. I think Hunter S. Thompson did it, but somewhere down the line maybe. But like right now, I can't give you a single penny. If I tried, I would love to support the artist. But definitely give me your information and say maybe I get back with you when you're a little more successful. And then maybe I can talk numbers and we can get you drawing and we can do a graphic novel. But it would certainly be interesting to put one of my stories in a graphic novel. And also, here's another last thing I'd like to say. It's going to be hard to keep up with all these stories, because mostly I keep them on fictionpress.com. But now I'm posting them on my Facebook, because I feel like Facebook's going to be here. And I think Zuckerberg is a good guard. The little F thing, I feel it's like a staff. He's like a guard. He can guard artwork and stuff. And plus, he's a pretty big, pretty powerful dude. He helped a friend of mine put a film out there called Beauty Inside, Drake Darrell-Miss's film. So I feel like it's safe on my Facebook page, a chapter at a time, even if it's updated. He allows that. He doesn't allow a complete... not yet, at least I can meet with him or something, but he doesn't allow a complete, all 79 chapters to be posted in one post. But he certainly has the ability to maybe do that. If there could be like maybe Facebook publishing or something like that, maybe Zuckerberg and I could have a meeting sometime, or his people, there could be like a Facebook publishing company. After all, he's connected to Harvard, Facebook. Zuckerberg is. And, it's called Facebook, it's like, it's got book in it. So it's easy to do a passage and post it on there and put a chapter on there. And he's probably aware of this. He has done some stuff to my page where I'm like, oh, this is cool. He's like a professional. This reminds me of Breathless, Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. But he has done some of that, so I think he's aware maybe of me, maybe. But in the future, maybe his people or distant people could sit down and we say, hey, look, I got a few books. Rib is the first one that I've been publishing on Facebook, as in chapter at a time, because it's really my only option right now to do it immediately. It's also very, very helpful if I could sit down and tell him this is why it's helpful for me to post it on my my page, and I also sometimes do readings on my YouTube at one step at a time. What am I at? Oh shit, 14 minutes. Okay, that was a lot of information, but if it could happen, maybe it's a possibility. It's a good way to try to sell it, and then maybe people read it and it gets done. It's chapter 79. It's part 2. It's called Rib (parentheses) or Dog Night Out (close parentheses). dash Shepherds of Alaska. And we're going to get to the Alaska stuff later and the whole adventure thing later on in words. Okay, so we're not moving to Alaska, okay, guys? I don't really like the cold weather that much. But I lived in Maine, which is on the same, is that the same latitude? Is that the same longitude, latitude? Same latitude as parts of Alaska. Okay, well, I'll get back to you. So some Chick-fil-A spicy chicken, meal sides. The beverages are sometimes missing. That's the lemonade, chicken strips, and some Chick-fil-A strips. So going way back, you know, we're talking about Vineland and Thomas Pynchon, and then P.T. Anderson's One Battle at a Time. We get to Benicio del Toro, and then you get to me, Cole Spivey. So I met Benicio del Toro because he was one of my teachers at the Actor Studio Drama School when I was hanging out with James Lipton, who was also a writer. He wrote Inside. But anyway, Benicio must have known that I was a writer because I had a question for him. Because Benicio said, you know, you always put it in your own words, and then you memorize it verbatim, or you have it verbatim, like, you know, your dialogue that you have to go up there as an actor, you know, in front of the camera or on stage. You always have it in your own words, and that could be like, you know, if you spoke Spanish or if you spoke English or whatever, your own words, and then, you know, you get verbatim with the writer because that's what they want, and so that it's more personable to you, which I thought was brilliant. So I wanted him to kind of expand on it because I wanted him to talk something about Spanish, and I think he probably knew that, but I think he pinpointed me at that point as a writer, maybe, because his answer was, well, it doesn't matter, you know, as long as it's your words. You can type them if you want. But Lipton didn't air that on Bravo's Inside the Actor Studio. I wish he would have, because it was funny. Now, if there's archive of it, I want to get a hold of it because it's funny. Because Benicio's a funny guy. He's also worked with Wes Anderson, Benicio del Toro. He's one of my favorite actors. He's also, I think, the closest to Marlon Brando that we're going to get in today's society when it comes to actors. And Leonardo DiCaprio looks like he might be up for another Oscar nomination. And I think maybe. It's just prediction. I think Benicio might be too for this this One Battle at a Time movie that's coming out with P.T. Anderson. I've seen some clips, and I'm pretty good at nailing it. I think Benicio might get a nomination, maybe even a win. I don't know. He's playing like a sensei character or something crazy. This looks like some crazy stuff. And then Leonardo DiCaprio is playing the unstable Bob Ferguson, which is maybe like another version of Zoid from Vineland. But it looks like two of them are going to get a nod. From what I've seen so far, I'm like, okay. Yeah, one for Leonardo DiCaprio, and then probably one for Benicio del Toro. I hope they both win. But anyway, I never predicted. Well, I thought probably he would get a nomination for Reverend, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he won for that. He won Best Actor for that. So it's a good chance. Anyway, I don't know if all these movies I talk about, I want to go out and see. It's a budget thing with me. So I only get to see the trailers. But I watch those trailers very, you know, carefully, and then sometimes play them back. And that's kind of a movie for me, you know. One thing that Corman said, the filmmaker Corman, he said, always put everything in the trailer. That way you get their butts in the seat, and then they're watching the movie. So make the best trailer you can make. Put the best stuff. I mean, don't save any of it. Put it right in the trailer. And usually that's the case. It's been the case with a lot of great movies. A lot of the best stuff is going to be in that trailer. And usually you can tell from the best actor nod too from the trailer. I predicted well, and I got well right with Brendan Fraser. This is Ship Bob. You want to stay out of that car if you can't get that AC going. It's a no good day on that one. They want a Kubrick style photo. Let me see if we got it. There we go. They want it cinematic.
Oh, really?
Well, they're getting that way.
Interesting.
Maybe they go and sell the artwork, you know, in some gallery in New York.
That's interesting.
No, I don't. I'm just. All right, looks like we've got a $7 one for Pizza Hut. Temporary raise here. And then we're gonna go to this one and blah. Let's see. Doesn't always get it. Darn it. These damn crickets. It's a cricket phone. I'm gonna have to turn off here. Till we get it going on. It's technology, technology, and technology, and more technology. All right. We do have it. 6 minutes away. 5:38 p.m. We'll be there 2.3 miles for tax purposes. All right, let's see. Worldwide Drive. 4.6. All right, so his name is Zoid Wheeler. He's an ex-hippie that performs an annual stunt of madness, like jumping through a window, something that you would see in Jackass, so that he can earn his mental disability check in a fictional town called Vineland. That's what I'm listening to.
Longtime pursuer, DEA field agent Hector Zuniga, back once again. Zoid made it home in time to view the lurid print dress. Crazy about this, Dad. Fresh, really. Can I have it when you're done? Use it to cover my futon?
Delivered to left side of building, ship center. That'd be the ship center right there. Whether this note makes it into your rib, parentheses, or dog night out, close parentheses, dash, Shepherds of Alaska. Jed Wilson, who drives the van, he was also the ex-rocker, the bi-level haircut that left Seattle to join a militia run by the dwarf. You can obviously tell it's fiction. His father once went fishing. His father's from the West Coast. I think he might be from California. I have to look in the other chapters. Regardless of where his father's from, he was fishing one time. He had all this fish on him, and a bear approached him. It was like a black bear. He had a bunch of fish, and he just left the fish on the side of the bank so the bear would find interest in the fish. It was like a trade-off, you know. I think it's important to add that in the story with Jed Wilson, because to me, the fish represent maybe Christians, and the bear represents California. It's like a quick story that he tells, I think maybe to one of the militia members in Alaska. But he tells the story because it's something that he was able to do to ward off the bear. He was able to sit the fish down and then walk off, and the bear didn't come after him. The bear went after the fish. Okay? So it's something that's important that my father actually once said that happened to him. Whether it really happened to my father, I don't know. But that's a story he told me.
Could have taped it. I'm working on it.
Looks like we got that 11. Working on that million. And it's going to be at the Back Porch Draft House. Just a reminder, I do not drink beer or smoke cigarettes. Pick up in about 2 miles. 1.9. On Cedar Post. Get directions on that puppy. And 11 miles.
Yeah, at last. How you doing? What's this, Mr. Well? Don't bother to thank me. Zoid had played a few mob weddings in his career. Nothing the kid couldn't handle. And besides, the eats would more than make up for any awkward episodes. So it wasn't as if he were running a mean... whom he was still not 100% crazy about, or anything like that. And as a problem to be addressed, Isaiah was more like a vacation from deeper difficulties, chief among which, all of a sudden, was the recrudescence of Hector Zuniga in Zoid's life. A topic, as he lit a joint and settled in front of the soundless tube, that his thoughts unavoidably found their way back to. Ain't always that easy to get back in. Don't mind Scott, Zoid hastily. He's a surfer. So long, Scott. He had a little run-in a few years ago with some young gentleman of Mexican.
Lonely single engine. Old train engine. Yeah, that's something. Isn't that nice? First, let's drop it off. And we'll figure out what this is doing. Oh, we'll just follow this until we get it. Take a personal photo. I just drove down a couple of feet and it corrected itself.
Screened porch, faced out over flood. They just gonna fuck you over again. The edge in his voice was frustration. Everything about this Gordita assignment was just real.
I got my favorite. And protein's a very important thing. It's a very important thing. Smoked turkey bacon wrap. So here's everything that goes in it. And it's got about 25 grams of protein. There's some fat in it. There's pesto and garlic they put in that, and tortilla, wheat flour. It's very tasty. And they put a date on it too. About a little over $6. Go ahead and try a bite. These are my favorite 7-Eleven sandwiches. You've ever had them, the wraps? They're really good. Then I got some chips for later on. I gotta add that. 340 on the chips and 510 calories. I had a under 500 calories so far today. I'll try this one out here. 7-Eleven wrap. It's got the bacon in it. It's got the tomato, the lettuce, and I'll give her a try. You can taste the pesto in it. It's pretty good. It's very healthy looking.
That bad. I won't ask you to grow up, but just sometime, please, ask yourself, okay? Who was saved?
What I'm gonna do next?
That's all.
Right
Real
here,
easy.
Pops.
Who was
Thomas
saved?
Pynchon.
Beg pardon?
I can. Let's see. There we go. Looks like a little $6 one. And this is an Arby's.
It turns out you don't know shit. Grinning, a stretched and terrible face. It was the closest Hector got to feeling sorry for himself. This
Looks like they got a classic beef with chicken tenders and an apple turnover. A couple sodas. So we're going to be going to Overlook. Time on that puppy is 1.3 miles. It's going to be on the other side that way. Alright, we got another hot spot coming up. About 2.2. Looks like we got a little $5 one. And it's at 2400 Alliance. Little Pilot gas station, McDonald's. Looks like it was canceled. So back to the hot spot. It's about 10 minutes from here. 7 minutes. 2.6 miles. Alright, got a little good one for $15. Taste of Asia. About 0.8 miles with no U-turn on that one, going straight towards it. Don't forget your fortune cookie. All right.
Knew that every one of these disconsolate oldies was all about her. Frenesy had ridden into his life like a whole gang of outlaws.
That's funny. I did a funny.
Just her face now in this light, okay? Her eyes quiet like this, her mouth poised to open. But unwisely, their daughter Prairie, this very morning. Oh, sitting over a breakfast of Captain Crunch and Diet Pepsi. You mean you dreamed? Zoid shook his head. I was awake, but out of my body. She gave him a look that he didn't so early in the day. Long-shadowed youth. Isaiah just shrugged and went on. In consideration, you get all the construction.
It's $5. Going to Justin. And 6.8 miles. Not exactly $1 a mile. Don't like that.
Brought to Hector's attention was that the alleys today were scheduled for junior regional semifinals. Kids were in town from all over the northern counties to compete on these of sodas and food.
So Pynchon is describing parts of California, but I've been there, California, a few times. I used to live in Long Beach, and they have a lot of these houses that have closed fences, and you can't really see in the yards. And the kids' playgrounds and everything are surrounded by these fences. It's like they live in these little bubbles, these little worlds. And, you know, the outside world of crime and all that stuff's kept out. It's just how, you know, it's very common. Almost all the houses have these electric gates that you can't even really see in the houses. It's all protected for privacy purposes. You know, you don't have a lot of open yards. Now, there are some open yards, even in Long Beach, but in the city like Hollywood and then also in LA, it's mostly the houses are enclosed with these fences. And Pynchon kind of talks about that in a way.
Trying to tell me what? She's in trouble?
If you listen to some
You'll
of his
catch on fast
descriptions.
for an old boat.
We're headed to a Dollar General hub. Look at all of those freight containers. It's like a whole mountain of freight containers for transporting freight. Dollar General hub. It's right over here. Oh, I guess it just acts like that. Okay. Oh, well, I guess I'm walking in.
Appreciate you.
For a kettle potato chip lime break. Okay, let's give them a try. Nothing like a chip.
Saying, because I know he'd be willing, and all
right, looks like we got a little 575. And it's going to be a Sonic drive-in. 3.9 miles.
So your pleasure at blowing away these jabbering, posturing likenesses would be enhanced by all the imploding picture tubes. Zoid was barely ahead of the whitewater here, nearly 10 sections the kid was coming up with. Dazedly, he realized that at some point his mouth had fallen open, and remained so. He didn't know.
Alright, so it's all there. It's a bunch of drinks, sundaes, things like that. And make sure those two are correct. 609 Tracy. That'll be 2.4.
Just shrugged and went on. In consideration, you... Like, oh yeah, here, try this. In scale of any deal in life.
Hey, little doggy. You must be happy to see me. Mm. I'm gonna walk over here to activate it. Looks like we got Taco Bell. It's $6. Yeah. And we're gonna look at this one. See what this one's doing. And Justin took it. Alright, now we're gonna try. Let's see. Make sure it's on driving. It's 4 minutes away. About 2 miles from the Taco Bell. Real secret. Verify. Oh. The whole grande. There we go. that up right there. That from hitting the bag. Good to go. Let's see how far it is. How far? Verify everything, hit direction. And 16156. Yep, that's verified there. Good to go. Looks like 775. It's not showing it, but anyway, it's 4.1 miles. This one. Well, play. Oh, Buc-ee's, we love you. Get some gas, there's so much to do. Buc-ee's, we love you. Come on in, try some chew. Two, 1, 1. Shit. Just like Papa wants it. It's this one. All right, a little $3 pickup, Wingstop. All right, the amount is going to be 2.2.
To be found peculiarly rampant, in fact, at our current destination, a sinister affliction, to which I pray we shall suffer no occasion for exposure more immediate than that to be experienced, as with Pugnax at this moment, safely within the fictional leaves of some book. Placing upon the word book an emphasis whose level of contempt can be approached perhaps only by executive officers. Pugnax sniffed.
This little $3 one will conclude this particular dash, and then we'll redash in a minute. It was a late night before I found door G, about 11:08. It was 11:07. Now it's 11:08. Gotta pull up to door G, because when they opened the door there, I saw G on the end. Or on the outside of it. And that's what we're looking for. And Dash City. All right. That one right there should say door G. All right, so we're gonna redash to out. There we go. All right, looks like we got a little $7.75 one Whataburger. It's about 1.9 miles. So it's about 11:22. So when it's playing games, probably PS5 or PS6, or maybe Xbox, Whataburger Jr., Whataburger, maybe watching movies, pickles, bacon slices, French fries, eating healthy. I think that man just gave him a free slice of cheese. Alright, so let's see. Got that one. Looks like a house. And 2.7. Alright, that brings us to another $6, and it was 80 pretty much for the first dash. So that brings us to the 90 mark, and we'll call on that one. Looks like it's going to be a Whataburger, and so this will be the second dash of the night. Same Whataburger.
You're on the best route. You will arrive at a...
Man, they read my mind. I was like, woo. But they could see me on the app. 3103. I'm listening to another Pynchon. It's a sci-fi Pynchon. I didn't know he did. It's called Against the Day. It's actually a lot to listen to, so it's going to be about 5 hours of Pynchon, which you don't have to listen to, but I didn't know he did sci-fi. I don't know much about him, but it's certainly fun. It's funny. It's funny sci-fi. Kind of sci-fi where they're flying off from Earth. So he talks about Earth. I got to get the numbers right on this one right here. 3103. Okay, 3 zeros. Then I'm gonna go to Winko after this, get some cat food. Oh boy. Winko's the only 24-hour joint since COVID. Okay, there's one back there. 3103. And the road is called Pear. Yeah, that one's Pear right there. Peared Street. Right the way I came in on. Okay, these are 3s. But that one's a 3 over there. 3 1 0 zeros right there. So this would be very close to that. Yes, okay. 310 and then 3105. Okay. We're in between right here. 3109. It's always the last one. You do this kind of work that gives you trouble. Always prep on that one. The last one for the night will give you a little bit of trouble. Maybe behind that one, maybe. 3100 is that one. Those would be evens. Really tricky. You can see this as 3. You can see the 3 up there. It's around the corner on the alleyway.